Hi folks, I just want to say green screen live, rubbish. I paid them the money to take the watermark off. They've left the watermark on anyway, as you will see. So I think this thing's coming down and we'll get back to some real pictures. But here is today's Astro weather. Hi, thanks for watching. Andy here taking a look at today's astrology. It is Thursday the 12th of July 2018. The moon entered Cancer last night in UK time, a little bit earlier in the States and Canada. But basically we've got a Cancer moon. Now you may have noticed that your emotions have become a little bit ragged because emotions increase a bit and people's vulnerability comes out and you see a certain amount of touchiness. If you know any Cancer people in real life, you may see that side to them. It's not that cut and dried, you may not see that side to them. But doesn't that just prove that we don't absolutely have to have exactly the experience that astrology says that we might have? Because it only says we might have it, you know. It's all part of what's driving us along, making us more satisfied and having a more satisfactory experience of this life we live. So you see that emotional increase, that sort of vulnerability in people. People need a certain amount of seclusion as well, and it becomes the thing really, just to communicate with your own closest people, not to be looking out and spreading your wings. Well, that's Cancer for you. It's something of the Hermit. If you know the Hermit card in the tarot, you know, sometimes that introspection is needed and sometimes it helps. And as we are actually coming up to a full moon, very close to it now actually, it's coming up tomorrow, or even today in the States and Canada actually, when that new moon comes in, we really do want to make it a fresh start. So it's not a bad time for being deep within yourself and thinking these things through. It is important to know what we think about that. Anyway, 7:47 p.m. this evening on the west side of the States and Canada, 10:47 p.m. East side, and 3:47 a.m. tomorrow, Friday the 13th. Here in UK, we get the new moon. Now, this is really a time of not much happening, a time of lull, you might say. It's a time when kind of we get to the end of completing old activities. We may not find closure on those. That tends to be the way it goes, but we do find ourselves thinking about the end of the cycle. No bad thing really, because we are responsible for what we do. There is no point kind of doing all these great things and then rushing off and doing something else and, you know, maybe leaving things not in the good state that we might have let them in. I don't know if you've noticed that with modern management in your part of the world, but gosh, since the 1980s now, that has been a kind of what you call a management style here in UK. Just do what you want, go on holiday and blame the staff if it goes wrong. That's the kind of thing that can happen, you know, and that's the kind of thing we do not want to happen. Because a new moon, as well as being that time of lull, is also a time of new energy, not coming in quite yet, but getting ready, preparing itself to happen. It's always the advice not to launch any big new projects actually on the new moon, even though it kind of is all about newness and starting things. We need to wait until it is actually seriously visible in the sky so we can actually see it. That's usually going to be 2 or 3 days afterwards. But the actual physical line of sight matters quite a lot. In just about any spiritual discipline or tradition, we say that the physicality of things isn't important. Well, astrology is all about the physicality of the universe, so it's extremely important in that sense. And you know, we do need to keep some kind of real handle on our real lives. That is so important, particularly in the spiritual life, but in any life really. I mention the spiritual life because there are many gurus who try and lead us away from reality and say, oh, you've got to be kind of radically different and be the same as me if you want to succeed. And that is not where it's at. I never have that and I never will have that. Also coming up tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. in the evening UK time. So that means, gosh, what's it, 10:30 a.m. On the west side, 1:30 p.m. on the east side, and 18:30 p.m. here in UK. A Leo moon comes in. People want to be noticed. People are a lot more out there than under the Cancer moon. The Hermit thing goes right, you know, gets shoved away somewhere where we don't. I was going to say something rude there, but I decided not to. I've never sworn on these and I'm not going to start there. People have a more strong desire than usual to be praised and to actually get out there and show what they've done. And if you've been kind of keeping your powder dry and waiting for a time to kind of make moves and show things off, maybe this Leo moon will help. But there isn't much moon energy behind it, frankly. There's a solar eclipse coming up tomorrow, so there are other things muddying the waters, you know, besides the normal kind of run-of-the-mill spiritual journey through life. But this is astrology. It throws things up and we have to deal with them. Coming up on Sunday, we actually have the moon in Virgo. But that's Sunday. I'll talk a bit more about that at the weekend because my equipment seems to be working and I seem to be here, so I reckon I'll be back in a couple of days. Okay, so what is the actual moon phase as we speak? 1.1% full, just turned down to 1.0 as I looked at it there actually. Waning, crescent being the round shape, not the fat gibbous shape. And yeah, tomorrow morning, 3:47 UK time, later today in the States and Canada, we will actually have that new moon getting its boots on. Okay, so moving along, what is the alignment? The Sun is opposite Pluto right this minute, right here today, on the 12th of July, a time of strategic meetings, confrontations, power shifts, transformational conditions around leadership. Now this is what we need. I'm not going to start going on about politics, but we are just doing this insane thing in UK called Brexit. There's a lot of good possibilities. I mean, it could have gone either way, but you know, basically the politicians are sitting on it because they're going to lose power, and they're just not going to really do anything about it if they can help it. They've put it off for years so far, and I'm sure they'll do their very best to make sure it never happens because people want it. Oh, bit of politics there, but don't listen to them. I really mean it. You know, we look at the Sun alignment and think, oh, what are the world leaders doing? What is actually happening? Just don't worry about it because they're going to do it anyway. And what gets us all through this is individuality, individual taking responsibility for ourselves and our lives and just deciding to go ahead and work it out. This is something I like very much about Canada, actually. I went over, excuse me, the camera bouncing. I went over to Canada when I was about 15 and I was very impressed. Basically, you had to work, you know, if you wanted to make anything happen, you had to work really quite hard for it. My uncle worked 7 days a week and he got 1 week's holiday a year. Apart from that, he was at work every single day. But there was none of this kind of, oh, what's the government going to say? What's the government going to do? And of course, that was important in Canada, but you didn't get this thing that you get in Europe and in so many parts of the world, and dare I say it, from what I see of American videos, it looks to me as if it's starting to happen in America as well, where the government tells you what's what, and if you don't agree with it, you know, you're just like a nutter and none of your friends will talk to you. I think that's horrible. That's the kind of crazy divisiveness that goes on. But never mind, I've digressed from astrology as I so often do. The moon right now is trine Jupiter, which is a lovely alignment actually, and Jupiter is of course direct, as I was saying the other day, after a little while of retrograde. Demonstrations of generosity. Basically, you get out what you put in, you get a certain amount of success, you get a certain amount of luck with this transit, depending what you put in. It's always about having a good attitude as far as possible. Mercury is void in Leo, and Mercury is also in pre-shadow to retrograde, so look out. The craziness hasn't really started yet, but it's coming in, it's waiting in the wings. The nervous energy is high. You may notice schedules fall apart. Basically, just keep going. That's the way we get through these things. Just keep going. Okay, well, on that basis, my friends, I will say thank you again for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe if you can take any more. Leave me a comment. We'll share the journey. And I really appreciate everybody who interacts with the channel, leaves me a comment. I do care what you think. Excuse me, it means a lot to me. This is actually about sharing as much as it is about me doing my thing and put it out. If it was all about me doing my thing and putting it out, I wouldn't be doing it on YouTube now because I haven't got that many views. But God bless those of you who do watch. You know, I thoroughly enjoy doing this. I look forward to seeing you again. So leave me a like, leave me a subscribe, leave me a comment if you dare, and I'll see you again very soon. Thanks again for watching, folks. Goodbye.